Good morning. It's the seasoned spouse, and I'm here today to talk about a very fun topic, which is deployment countdowns. I have 7 different ideas for how to do a deployment countdown, and you can customize every one of them for your family, for your branch, for the length of your deployment, and for what's appropriate, whether or not you have kids. So the reason we all love deployment countdowns is because there's just something so therapeutic, I think, about being able to cross off another day on the calendar or mark off another week and just know that we made it. We did it. We accomplished one more day, one more week out of the deployment, and that's just one more day closer to homecoming. So we all love to do countdowns, and everyone has their own style. So if you have a method or a style or something that you've used for deployment countdowns, then please go ahead and share it in the comments because we can all benefit from each other's ideas and each other's motivational milestones. So we'd love to hear what you use for deployment countdowns. And then I'll be sharing 7 different ways that we've done deployment countdowns. And the reason that I think countdowns are so important is not just for myself, but for my kids too. Our military kids have been all different ages during their dad's various deployments, and some ages really don't understand time and calendars and weeks as well as others. And so you can tell an older child that, dad will be gone for 7 months or that he'll be home at the end of the school year. But for a toddler or a 3-year-old, that just doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make any sense. You can't say, oh, there's 13 more weeks left of the deployment, because they have no grasp of what that means or how long that is. And they'll just start asking you every day, so how about now? Is it done yet? Do we get to pick up daddy today? And I know this because I made that mistake during one of our earlier deployments when my husband was in Afghanistan and I had 3 kids. The oldest was only 3 years old, and we thought that he would be coming home in January. So I had been telling her, oh, he'll be home after Christmas, like shortly after Christmas is when daddy comes back. And so, of course, the whole month of December, she was already saying, okay, is it Christmas yet? Is it Christmas? When does my daddy come home? But then the deployment was extended and he was pushed back into February. So then for the whole month of January, she was asking me every day, Christmas is over, Mom. Where's Dad? He hasn't come home yet. And I realized that that was an error on my part because it's not her fault that she didn't understand how long deployment would be. But she needed something to help her count it down and help her make a little bit more sense of the length of a deployment. So today I do have some deployment countdowns that are perfect for kids, and I'll be sharing more of that with you. But first I want to start off with some deployment ideas that are great for adults. If you don't have any kids, you can still have fun with deployment countdowns. And some of the ones that we have used are just a basic wall calendar. I love being able to just put another X on every day and mark off another day. And I've also sometimes used a paper calendar just to mark down important events that have happened during the deployment. So it's not exactly our family schedule that I'm keeping on the calendar. It's things that I want to share with my spouse. And when we don't have regular communication, it's nice to be able to write some of those things on the calendar of, a person that you connected with or a trip that you took or something that you wanted to remind them of that happened that day. And then at the end of deployment, that makes a nice gift to just be able to give them, like, hey, this is what I was doing while you were gone, and here's how I counted down the days. So wall calendars are fun. You can do a chalkboard, any type of, whether you have chalkboard paint and you're going to get crafty and make something out of the wall or out of a picture frame, or you can just actually buy a chalkboard and use chalk too. And you can erase it every day and write down how many days are left or how many weeks are left. Because I will say some people prefer to count days, and I understand the therapeutic value of that, being able to change it once. But I don't count days because there's so many. It's just very intimidating to start off a deployment with 200 days or 180 days or whatever it is. So I prefer to count weeks, and that to me just makes it a little bit more manageable. And I have used lots of different ways. We can either count down the weeks of a month. You can count down certain chores that you only do every week and think, hey, I only have to take out the trash 5 more times. That's 5 more weeks until he's back. Some people count pay periods because that's once every 2 weeks. So that makes it go a little bit faster as well. You only have to count 2 pay periods per month. And then that way you're like, okay, only 2 more pay periods. And then that's a whole month gone. So some people prefer to do it that way. If you have a way that you like to do deployment countdowns, by all means, go ahead and share it with us in the comments, and we'd love to hear it. So far I mentioned wall calendars and chalkboards, which you can use either one to cross things off or to write down how many days are left. And another way to count down the days is with stones in a jar. And these are not fancy jars. These are just regular mason jars. But you can use anything you like, anything that's see-through. So it could be glass or plastic or a bowl or a vase. And the idea is to count out the number of stones approximately for the days that they'll be gone. And when you start off your deployment, you're going to have quite a large pile probably in one jar. And then you're going to have an empty jar next to it. And so you can write labels on them. You can decorate these however you would like. But this would be days gone. And this would be, this would be days left in the deployment. And this would be how many days they've been gone. And so when you start off your deployment, it's going to look like this with all the stones in one jar. And then each day, you just take another stone out and drop it into your jar, and that's your countdown. And so gradually over time, you're going to be able to see the stones shifting from one jar to the other, and you can see when you're at your halfway point, and then eventually you're going to reach that happy day when all the stones have been moved from the first jar to the second, and that's when you are at homecoming. So you can do it with marbles, you can do it with stones, anything decorative. So that's a very fun way to do a deployment countdown. And the kid version of this, I should mention, a lot of people like to do kisses in a jar, like a Hershey kiss. And it's a kiss a day while dad or while mom is away. And that's really fun, but you're going to need much bigger jars because this is a small mason jar, and I guarantee you couldn't get a whole deployment worth of Hershey kisses in here. It's more like one bag. And for a family like mine, I have 4 kids. So if we counted out 4 kisses a day while dad was away, that would be hundreds and hundreds of Hershey kisses. And I kind of like chocolate, so I don't think I could handle having that much sitting at the house that needed to be counted out every day. So we haven't done the Hershey kisses, but it is a really cute idea. And if you just have 1 or 2 kids, that's part of their bedtime ritual, part of the routine is, every night they get a little kiss from their deployed parent. That can be a really fun way to celebrate deployment. So you can do it with decorative stones for adults. You can do it with Hershey kisses for kids. But that's 2 more ways to count down a deployment. And before we move on, I should mention the technological way to do a deployment countdown is to use an app on your phone. There's lots of apps that will help you with countdowns. And if you can't find one specific to deployment, then you can look for things like wedding countdowns or any type of countdown app. You put in an approximate date for their return. Now, typically we don't know the exact return date when they're leaving, so you're just going to have to guess on that. If you think they're coming home in April, then put the date down as May 1st, and that way you can always adjust it as you go along. But a popular app specific to military deployments is called the Donut of Misery. And it's a circular donut that it'll start out all one color, and I think you can choose your colors. And then as time progresses, you'll see it to start fill in almost like a clock going around the circle. And so you'll see when you're at your halfway point, and And then you can see when you start to come into the home stretch. So the donut of misery is a fun way to track the time that's going by on deployment. And some of them can be customized. You can put a photo in the middle, that the photo is revealed as time goes by. So go ahead and search for some fun countdown apps and let us know if you find one that you like. And then for kids, I have two more ideas that I want to get into. One is just the simple paper chain, and you can use any colors, obviously, but we went patriotic with this one. And a paper chain is really great for toddlers and preschoolers. So thanks. I'm glad that you stopped by, and we'll see you later when you come check it out. So the paper chain is really therapeutic for young children because it lets them rip off a piece each day. And each day of deployment, they can just take one and throw it away, and then their chain is just a little bit shorter. So I have used these typically in the last month of a deployment when I have an approximate idea when the end date is going to be, because to do it for an entire deployment, first of all, you're making an awful lot of paper chains, which if your kid likes that, that's fine. I have seen people do an entire month worth of chains hanging down. And if your deployment is, say, 7 or 9 months long, you could string these all in a line and you could make 7 different months to count down and then rip them along each day. So if you want to do it that way, that's great. If you want to save it as a special final month of deployment celebration, that's fun too. But it's really exciting to watch the chain get shorter and shorter as you're getting closer to homecoming, and kind of let your anticipation build and get excited. Now, I will caution you that especially with young kids, when they're able to count, they become very aware of how many days are left and how many days it's been. And if you tell them a date, like Dad's coming home on June 1st, then they're going to start saying, oh, it's 17 more days, it's 13 more days. And as we all know, military homecoming is never set in stone, and you need to be flexible. So there are times when I've had to sneak a few extra rings onto the paper chain, and the younger ones haven't noticed, but the older ones are like, wait, there were only 13 days left. What happened? So you do need to be flexible with any type of countdown that you do, and understand that a deployment date can always change. We've had some change at the very last minute, getting pushed back by days. We had one deployment, like I said, I thought he was coming home in 1 month, and it was pushed back an entire month. So it's frustrating for sure, but you need to make sure that you don't get your heart too set on whatever the countdown says is the end, because the military sometimes has other plans. All right, so far we have talked about 6 different deployment countdowns. We talked about using a paper wall calendar, using a chalkboard, using an app on your phone, using stones in a jar. The other one was to use Hershey Kisses in a jar, to use a paper chain for yourself or for kids. And finally, the one that I'm really excited to show you is a custom countdown chart that I've made that is really helpful for military kids. And you could use it for yourself too if you don't have any kids. It's still fun. I have designed this printable, which is completely customizable and downloadable from my website, and I included the link above. And it comes as a 7-page printout, which I have right here. So when you download it and print it out, it'll look like this. It'll have your deployment page, which you can customize. You can write the location that they're going to, or you can write your love's name, or you can put a little heart, or you can leave it blank, depending how you feel about that. And then you'll have every month of the year. You can choose, I know they're backwards right now. You can choose the months that are going to fit for your deployment, so you can start it at any time of the year. And what I did was I left it blank so that you can customize it for your family, and you can write how many months down. So if you had a deployment that was starting in March, for April, you'd write 1 month down. but other people might be starting a deployment in June. So you can start at any time and see how many months have passed. And an important thing that I think about every countdown is that you need to find ways to celebrate those milestones. And so I left a space in each month where you can say how you will celebrate. And it can be a little treat. It could be ice cream. It could be a shopping day. It could be lunch out with a friend. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or expensive or time consuming, but something that you're going to be able to look forward to during that month. And for kids, especially, those countdowns and those milestones are very important. So they're going to be looking at the holidays. They're going to be looking at, whether you're going to the beach or the swimming pool or different activities that you're going to do as a family. So these are great ways to show your kids how much time is passing during deployment and what you're going to be doing to celebrate each month down. Is it a field trip? Is it a get-together? Is it a party? Is it a holiday? So if you have a certain milestone celebration that you like, if there's something that you look forward to each month, please go ahead and share it with us in the comments. Like I said, it could be anything from coffee or ice cream to getting together with friends or taking a big trip, because that can sometimes really break up the monotony of deployment and make time go a lot faster. So you can take your own ideas and you can write them into the months. And then, of course, I made symbols for the holidays because kids are very attuned to the holidays, and so they know when Thanksgiving's coming and when Christmas is coming. And then on the last page here, of course, we have the homecoming, which is what the countdown is going towards. So I did a sample one up here. This is, for OPSEC reasons, this is not my family's actual countdown, and this is not my husband's current location. But you can see all the months and how they add up to homecoming to give a visual reminder to kids of where they are and how much time is left. And then I included these little icons on the bottom so you can track your own family celebrations. Do you have birthdays in the family that you'll be celebrating? Because a kid knows what month their birthday is, and they want to have that marked on the calendar so they can say, hey, my birthday is here, and then there's another month, and then Dad comes home. So you can put little icons for trips that you're taking or people's birthdays or going back to school. You could use the flowers for an anniversary or Mother's Day, whatever the case may be. You get to cut those out and put them on the dates that work for your family. And then this is the fun page, because this is how you track your service member. You can do, I had to make it work for all branches, so you can color them in whatever color is appropriate for your branch, or you can use the shadow one because that's the easiest and simplest. My kids liked this one in the middle because he's a very friendly looking, fun, sort of a soldier, but it's really nondescript. It could be any branch there. And then this one is fun too because you can actually use a photo of your service member and put their face right there and color their camis or their BDUs or ACUs or whatever color it is. You can color it in for their branch and make it look just like mom or just like dad. This should work for any deployed parent. So once you've cut out your service member, you can use them to travel along each month of the deployment and just track the passage of time. And when they're in April, you put them right there, and they're going to stay there in April for a while. But when you finally get to May 1st, you can move them on, and they're getting 1 month closer to the homecoming. So this entire kit is available as a download. It's on my site, and I put the link above this video. It is www.seasonspouse.com/myshop. So I will be happy to answer any questions or share more info about that with you. But I thought that would be a really fun and easy way to celebrate deployment with your kids and give them something to look forward to and give them a way to customize it and make it unique for their family so that it's not just crossing off things on a calendar, but you're literally watching dad travel or mom travel through the deployment with you as they're gone. So I hope that you think that is useful and fun. And like I said, you can check it out on my shop, and there's some other deployment resources there too. And I should mention, I always forget to say this in the beginning, I am hosting a free Facebook support group for deployments. And anyone going through a deployment, whether it's coming up soon or whether you're currently going through, I'll have a really special week of resources for you in March with tons of videos and tips and interviews. We're going to have some free resources and some prizes, and there'll also be resources like this too that you can download and print out. So I should include a link to that here. So the Facebook group, you can join by visiting my website, my blog, and it is just seasonspouse.com/deployment. Sorry for typing while being live. It's always an interesting experience. All right, there you go. So this is the link to the free deployment group. And like I said, the group is active now. It's already available for answering questions and sharing resources and learning more about deployment. But we're going to have a special challenge week in March, and that's when we'll be giving away a lot of prizes and having a lot of videos and a lot of downloads and exciting things that you can do. So if you are facing a deployment, I really encourage you to check that out. And if you have questions, you can just leave them there in the group. It's a very supportive and encouraging group, and they're very willing to answer questions. So that's the free Facebook deployment support group that I have. This is one of the deployment countdown strategies that I recommend. And the other ones that I talked about, I mentioned doing stones in a jar or kisses in a jar for a kiss a day while your parent is away, or using a stone to count down from one jar to the other. We talked about making a paper chain to count down the last few weeks or a month of a deployment, and how you need to be flexible and sometimes add extra links onto the chain. And we talked about using an app on your phone, such as the Donut of Misery or any other countdown app that will help you see how much time is passing on the deployment. And we talked about using a paper wall calendar or a chalkboard. And all of those are great ways to count down a deployment and measure time and feel a little bit of success and achievement with every day that goes by or every week that goes by. So if you have a deployment resource or a deployment countdown method that you like, go ahead and share it with us. Even if it's after this video, I always go through the comments and I'm happy to check them out and see what your suggestions are and what your questions are. And I always answer questions. So it has been really fun hanging out with you today. And I'm glad that you were able to see some of our deployment resources. And I hope you'll check them out on the shop on seasonspouse.com/myshop. So thanks so much, and I will see you next time.